Welcome to Talkin' Jets. My name's Ryan, and I'll be your pilot tonight. I am joined alongside my co-pilot, Matt O'Leary. We will have Green Bean on the show a little bit later. He is going to be about a half hour late or so we will pop in with his thoughts in just a little bit. Guys, thank you for tuning in. I see Steven, Jason, Minecraft, Andrew P., Mike Donovan. Who else we got in there? Braden, what's up, dude? How you doing? He says, get the first pick and trade down. We'll get into that. We will talk about that for sure. Joshua, Liam, Benjamin, Jeremy, what's up, guys? Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you hit that like button. If you like the content, it allows other people to see just what's going on and just how good a show this is. I think it's pretty good, at least. Guys, before we jump into it, you'll notice a little link in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. Jets Talk is proud to announce our new sponsor for the NFL season, MyBookieAG. This NFL season, anyone who signs up at MyBookieAG and uses promo code JT receives a 100% bonus up to $1,000. They will match your deposit. Use promo code JT. Bet with me, win some money. MyBookieAG, promo code JT. Double your money today. MyBookieAG, promo code JT. Guys, I am so frustrated with our goddamn Jets. I'm like, oh, wait, one more thing of housekeeping. Guys, if you did not know, we are bringing this show to podcast form, so if you don't want to kill your battery immediately, there's a link in the description down below. I will upload the audio version of this show after the show airs, and then you'll be able to listen to it tomorrow, and that'll be kind of how it goes week in and week out from now on. But we will get Green Bean in here in just a little bit. But Matt, I want to talk to you just a little bit, like a whole lot of it, about our Jets. What's wrong with us?
Yeah, I feel like this is a therapy session, man. It's just like a one-on-one, just vent it out. It's going to be okay. I don't know. It's really, really bad. Like all of our worst nightmares are coming true. And it all comes down to, I'm going to sound like a broken record because I've been talking about this for over a year, but it's the coach. The coach is just not good. He is, I would say, worse than the league. At best, bottom three. Like him, Dan Quinn, and Patricia should all be gone yesterday. But yeah, they just were not ready to play in week 2. We saw that by the 80-yard touchdown run, and the offense was asleep again. And it's not so much on Darnold. I thought he played a lot better this past week, but he executed the game plan, which was I'm going to throw to the line of scrimmage and run Frank Gore into the A-gap 21 times.
Yeah, it made absolutely no sense to me. It looked like they were unprepared. The biggest takeaway for me, I think, from this game was how terrible Alex Ogletree is. He is the reason we got that 80-yard touchdown immediately. They got a helmet on every single guy on our defense except for Ogletree, and Ogletree just whiffed. He just was out of position. And then the 3rd and 31, same sort of situation. He over-pursued on the run. They got the cutback. He was nowhere to be found in that gap, and he runs for 55 yards on 3rd and 31.
Embarrassing. I have no reason for why he should be on the field over Avery Williamson, unless Avery Williamson isn't healthy. But can we at least know that? Can they come out and say like, hey, this guy's not healthy? Like, there's no reason Neville Hewitt or who did we just say? I blanked out. Alex Ogletree.
Ogletree, yeah.
I was like, forgot his name already. There's no reason why he should be on the field over Avery Williamson. I know he hasn't played coming off an ACL, but he would probably be their best defender, arguably. Him and Marcus May, 1-2.
Yeah, I would say so. Him. I mean, Quinnen Williams looked pretty good. I would say this was our best Quinnen Williams sighting so far. But yeah, I would say Avery Williamson, the most consistent, I would say, along with Marcus May on our defense.
Right, absolutely. And I guess that's a positive spin. Quinnen Williams arose from his slumber and got a couple of sacks and made a lot of nice plays behind the line of scrimmage. I'll give him that. That was a bright spot in an ugly game.
Yeah, it was nice to kind of see some flashes from him. He's not going up against their starting center. Oh, it looks like we got our buddy Green Bean. I think he's popping in. So let me see if I can admit him and then swap over to the 3 panel in good fashion. 1, 2, 3, go. Maybe. Green Bean, where'd you go? Boom! Oh, I didn't hit the button.
Dude.
There's the button. Green Bean! What's up, dude?
What are you guys doing?
No, we are just venting.
I know. I was
He's
listening.
listening to it. He's just like, this This is frustrating. So, Green Bean, what were your initial thoughts on the Jets' loss, or the game in general, I guess?
The weirdest thing, and Matt started to kind of say what I'm feeling. I'm confused. Like, I don't understand. Clearly they were not ready to play. I mean, that was just an opening run, get the game started, and our defense, the angles, the missed. Well, he didn't even get touched on that first one, but it was just it was almost like they didn't realize the game had really started. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was embarrassing.
It was. I couldn't believe it. See, I was on that delay, as you guys know. I was doing the live stream, and I'm like, it's like a play and a half delay, and I was talking to people, and then everybody went like this, oh, and I was like, what? Like, so 7-0.
Just deflated.
No, it's not. Yeah, but I don't know. I'm actually confused. I'm real curious as to what you guys can help me, if you guys can help me today, because I don't really know what the hell is happening. It's embarrassing, like you just said. It's terrible.
The biggest thing for me that I took away from that game, unprepared, definitely felt like it. I thought Alex Ogletree was horrible. I thought it was the worst performance from a Jet this season. Not that no one expected the Jets to win that game anyway, but when you're missing Kittle, you're versing the Kirkland brand version of the 49ers. You got no Kittle, you lose Bosa, you lose Solomon Thomas, no Richard Sherman, Garoppolo goes out at halftime. There's even more. Westberg or Richburg didn't play for center. So like, how do you even come away with much positive of what we saw, and to see the lack of preparedness, or I don't know. It feels like it's on Gase, especially with the comments Sam made the other day about I don't know if you heard this. He was up at the line of scrimmage, 4th and 1 or whatever. Like, did not have the option to audible to a QB sneak when there was no one covering the center, no one over the guard, and he could have just fallen forward. Does not have the power to do that.
Yeah, there's nobody there.
That to me, in your third year, that's a problem. That's not. And I don't think it's on Sam. I think it's on Gase more than anything else.
So that the problem there is this. One is the coach is just stubborn, totalitarian, and just wants his play called, right? There's that. And then the other one is he doesn't trust Sam. So, and then that branches off into two potential.
Uh-oh.
Is he alive?
Green Bean, switch your internet.
What happened?
Yeah, there you go. Okay.
Oh,
No,
I got such good internet, man. It's all.
Oh no, you lagged for a second. Go back.
Okay. Damn. Yeah, tell me if I'm not good. I'm really happy with my new. I'm in Walla Walla, Washington, man. Can you believe it?
I can't tell if you're Walla Walla, Washington, or if you're stuttering because of your internet. No,
that's Walla Walla.
You
Merrill,
got a little bit of skipping.
All right, I'll work on it. I'll work on it. But so what I was saying was, does he not trust Sam because he just doesn't trust anybody but himself? Or does he not trust Sam because there's reason not to trust Sam, which would be even worse? So I don't know which one it is. I know which way I lean. I think Gase is just terrible. That's what I think. I think he thinks he's the smartest person in the room. He thinks that nobody else can do it but him. And that's what we're watching. That's what I think is going on.
Now, Mumtaz, thank you for the super chat. He says, Gase is bad. Felt like we only ran one play for a run up the middle and short outs. To the point, entire 49ers defense was looking for those plays. Commentators begged us to go to the end zone. We didn't even try. That's exactly what it felt like the entire game. It was just all around the line of scrimmage. I'm cool with high percentage throws. Don't have a problem with that. But if you're running the ball the way you're running it, throw some play action in there. Get something over the top. There's got to be some type of... And it's hard for me to... I don't know. Look, we went into the game with 4 wide receivers. We were out Perriman. We were out Mims and Crowder. And now you have... Or I guess you had Perriman. And then Perriman gets knocked out. And then you have... Hogan gets knocked out. So now you're down to 2 wide receivers. But that was what? Third quarter, maybe, when that happened. And then you're just trotting out a bunch of tight ends. We have some guys that are able to make some catches, and I'd like to really see them take advantage of the play action. If you're going to run it that many times, give them something to think about. It just felt like there was no creativity in anything that we were doing. Matt, what were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, you hit it on the head, man. When all these wide receivers started dropping like flies, my thing was, okay, now there's no excuse. He has nothing else he can do. He has to put two tight ends on the field now. We're finally going to see Herndon and Griffin be on the field together. Yeah, they're not Hernandez and Gronkowski. I'm not saying that they are, but that should be more than capable of like trying to get the ball somewhat down the field. No. He doubled down on running Frank Gore. He ran him 21 times at 37 years old. That's insane.
Right.
And then he was throwing these little out routes and screen setups to Barrios and Malone. How is Sam going to have any, or the offense in general, going to have any chance? It makes zero sense.
Right. Well, it was a record-breaking day. And the exact records at the Jets stockpile. We are the first team to ever rush a 37-year-old running back 20 times or more. That's Gase for us.
He was the oldest starting running back, too, I'm pretty sure, right?
Yeah, it's incredible. You know, look, and Frank Gore, you can tell. I mean, he's a good guy to have. You know what I mean? He works. He's always, you know what he's bringing. But 21 rushes, and like Matt just said, there should be these packages in there anyway with 2 and 3 tight ends.
Yeah.
But no, he has no wide receivers, and he still won't do it. And look at the plays on the out. He took until the beginning of the fourth quarter, and I just, with all respect, I learned this watching what's his name? The guy he's with Blewett, the other guy.
Nanya?
Oh, yeah.
No, not Nanya, the other one.
Robbie Sabo.
Sabo, right? Who I love, by the way. I just flaked out on his name, but he said the first time we threw to the sideline was the first play of the fourth quarter, and it was a pass interference. Then there was another one that we caught and another pass interference. So, or no, the other one. Yeah. So it's like, why aren't we doing this? It's like you look at it and it's just, I refuse to change. And Gase's answer to why he did the same play, 3rd and 1 and then 4th and 1 was I had a play to Perryman, but he got hurt, so I couldn't run it anymore. Like, what kind of answer is that, man? The only person that I could have thrown to there was Perryman. And he was out. So you guys understand. And then he said there's not many plays for 4th and 7. I don't even know. My brain, it's like there's so much. And the only thing I hope that comes out of this, like Joe Douglas looks at this and says, dude, I'm sorry. You got to fucking go. You know what I mean?
That's where it's come to me. And at this point, it's super frustrating. And 2613 Mike makes a point. I don't know if you guys saw this comment. It was a rumored comment by Avery Williamson. Let me pull it up real quick. It was someone on Twitter that I saw it posted.
The WFAN quote.
Yeah. Let me hold on. I'll get it up in just a sec.
Hey, while you do that, I'm going to switch internets for us. Okay.
Yeah. You are sounding better, by the way, just so you know.
I am.
Yeah. I would hold off for right now.
I'm going to hold off. Tell me though, because I got 2 more backup internets ready.
Sure. So Brady Watson, I don't know who this is, says Avery Williamson on the Fan just said we don't practice to win games. I don't know if this is part of the quote, get Gase away from me. Was that actually Avery Williamson? There's no way Avery Williamson said that on air, is it?
I don't think so. I think I didn't listen to the full clip. Someone did rip the clip, but they said that, oh my God, well, it was something to the effect of we're not going at the right speed in practice. I'm paraphrasing, but something to that effect. It wasn't so much of we're not practicing to win. That was too much. That was taken out of context or stretched a little bit.
Yeah, that's got to be, to me, a huge tell. When the players feel like, hey, we're not doing what we need to do to win the game. I don't understand how Douglas can justify holding on to Gase too much longer. Like, I'm thinking Gase is gone at the bye week.
If he's lucky, he'll get to the bye week. It might be before that.
Honestly, it should be
week again?
week 10.
Yeah,
or week 11 maybe. Maybe we go up to week 10 and then week 11's our bye.
I'm pretty sure it's week 11's the actual bye, 10 games before that, I think.
Yeah. So I would like to see him gone well before that because I want to see Sam under a different offensive coordinator just so we can see, like, hey, maybe it is Adam Gase and Sam isn't as bad as he's been kind of made out to be the last 2 years or year and a half. And I just don't want to roll into the offseason with the Johnson saying, oh, no, we can't fire Gase because, the image. We said all this stuff about him being a brilliant offensive mind, and we're going to let it run till the end of the season. Now, all of a sudden, we're possibly looking at the first pick. I don't know how you guys feel. I don't see a game on our schedule that looks like a win to us. Like, Miami is the only team I can think of that might be a win. Like, I don't want to get to that point where we are now picking first and we're like, okay, Trevor Lawrence, we got to ship off Sam. I want to find out what we have in Sam. If the answer is, hey, we got to move on to Trevor Lawrence, so be it. But I really like Sam, and I feel like he's a good quarterback. It's just I think Gase is really hampering him.
He is a good quarterback. Look, man, on that, I think it was, I mean, we're calling it garbage time, but the touchdown to Berrios, when the guys came in, he ran, he scrambled, avoided, like shook off somebody with their hands on him, scrambled to the side and threw an absolute laser to Berrios. That's what we should be seeing from Sam. And we don't. We have him in this game plan that really doesn't look like he's suited for it. It just looks like that. He looks uncomfortable. It's really disturbing. And that comment that I'm not allowed to change the plays, I'm not allowed to read and change at the line. It all pieces together, man. It's all a puzzle. And the result is we look like absolute ass out there. I mean, it's embarrassing. It doesn't even look like the players care. Like did you guys see that in game 1 when Josh Adams scored the touchdown? The only player to raise their hands was Becton. Did you guys see that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like everybody's just like, I mean, I know it's not, you don't have to be all psyched and doing poses in front of the camera and all that shit, but at least some life. There's none. The team, and that's how we came out this week. It was play one. They were not there to play, and it's really alarming. I don't know what this means for Greg Williams. That's probably something that we should get into as well. But I don't know what's happening, man. I think the players are just there making their statement that we're not going to play for this bozo anymore. And that's bad news. That's bad.
I'm with Green Bean here. I don't think this is Sam's fault. I really don't. I think that he's been put in an awful situation, part of which due to Mike McCagnon's awful drafting. They have very little talent around him. And on top of that, the game plan just makes zero sense. And he's right. It's all Adam Gase being stubborn. The fact that you're not allowing your quarterback, who's in his 3rd year, it's not like this is a 7th-round rookie who is taking over in the middle of the season. Sam should be able to audible at the line of scrimmage on 4th and 1. He should be able to say, hey, I'll call my own number, dive half a yard, and we'll be good, and let's keep this thing rolling. Instead, No, I have to stick with my brain-dead coach who's going to give the ball to a practice squad running back on 4th and 1. Give me a break. Come on.
Right.
Yeah, how the hell do you call that play? You're running Gore up the middle nonstop, and then you take the ball out of his hands? It makes no damn sense.
Yeah.
Like the entire scheme.
And like we've talked about it, when you guys were so gracious enough to call in to the live stream. If not, there's nobody over the center. If you're not going to run a sneak there, isn't that the best time in the world? The running game was working on that drive to switch to a play action play.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like there were so many options there that could have happened. Instead, we gave the ball to, like Matt just nailed, a practice squad running back who I happen to like as a developmental guy, but we gave it the biggest play of the game for us at that point, and we put it in his hands and do the exact same thing, and we telegraph everything as well. People know what we're doing. There's no brilliant offense here, man. This is boring offense and very predictable offense, and we saw the result.
Yeah, and for those of you guys that don't know, in the chat, Matt, Green Bean, and I, the last 2 games have gone live at halftime on Green Bean's channel over at Jet Nation. So make sure you follow that. Both these guys' links are in the description down below. So make sure you follow that because you get some absolutely great content, fresh. It might not be great. It might be us like ranting and like upset for 15 minutes, but you're going to get some raw emotion with some of that. Look, I don't understand. I don't understand how on 4th and 7 you don't have a play. I was looking at I think it was Samini that tweeted it out. There was like a 0.19% chance of the Jets winning at that point if they kicked the field goal, and there was a 0.2% chance. So it only went up like 0.01 for the Jets like not kicking for kicking the field goal and not going for the touchdown. But the fact that there is a lower percentage chance just means it's a bad option. Like regardless of how small the factor is, you got to go for it. You're down by what, 3 scores at that point, and you run, you kick the ball, like you're still down by 3 scores.
Right, it makes no sense. But the thing was that the game wasn't over at that point. The game wasn't over for a little while there. Those 3 scores that they had, the game still settled down. And Sam, like Matt said when the show first started, he was not looking as clueless as game 1. In game 1, he was all over the place. I don't know what that was. He was like we talked about, it's like a preseason game. He was just shaking rust off and everything. In game 2, while he wasn't perfect or anything, but he looked significantly better than he did in game 1. And the game was not over, and then Bosa went down and Solomon Thomas went down. And the interesting thing about that, the next friggin' play, they get a sack, if I remember correctly. It was like the 2 pass rushers went down in 2 plays. And then what's the other guy they have? The guy we almost got.
Solomon Thomas.
No,
Bosa.
The other one. The other guy. What was it, Matt?
Eric Armstead?
Armstead, right. He
yes.
got a sack the next play. It's like, what? I just don't know, man. It's like, and I know I'm kind of all over the place, but it just seems like we're getting hit from all sides. But the thing is that the game wasn't over there, and that was a big-ass drive, man. If we could have scored there, and then things start to settle down, and now it's 10 points, and we're only down, you know what I mean? You know the story. And it's like, okay, now that's a rallying cry. Holy cow, we can win this team. Everybody's hurt. Garoppolo's down. All this stuff, we have a chance. But instead, they stuffed us, and that was it. It was over at that point.
Now, Green Bean touched on that Sam was better this week than last week. To put it in perspective, last week against Buffalo, Sam graded out as a 37.2 on Pro Football Focus. This past week, 86.2, so played significantly better. Now, again, the stats aren't necessarily there. I think it's probably following this ridiculous game plan that we've got, but I think Sam isn't the issue. I think it's the other pieces around. It's no wide receivers. Man. The best thing I can see, actually, hold on, let me pull it up. I retweeted it today because it was something I wanted to make sure I didn't lose. There was a percentage of winning, I guess, for the offensive line that came out, and let me see if I can find it real quick.
I think Samini had that if you're looking for that, Rye.
It was. Yep, I got it. So Jets offensive line through 2 games, their pass blocking win rate, Becton was the highest at a 92.1. Greg Van Roten, 87.5. A little surprised there.
Yeah, me too.
Lewis was an 85, and then the 2, McGovern and Fant, were 77. The run block rate, much lower across the board. McGovern was the highest at 75. The rest of the line was around 65% or so. Fant was 58. So when you're seeing our pass blocking is getting that much better. Last year, I would love to know what the difference was between last year and this year, but I feel like I could just look at the game and see, okay, Sam's got some time. It looks like we're making a push. I love watching Mekhi Becton just throw people around. If I were Gase and I'm watching that, roll everything out to Becton's side. The guy can just manhandle anyone.
Dude, he's an animal. He is an absolute animal. Now, there were I saw some really rudimentary type stats, but like when he's pushing to the right, he needs to learn how to not push his guy into the play. Like there were a few times when he does that. So there's a lot that this kid still needs to learn, specifically technique and situational technique. But as far as the quality of player that we got there, I couldn't be happier, man. He's everything I want in a left tackle.
Yeah, and he's played 2 games, and he looks like he's been playing for, a decade at this point. Yeah, he does have some stuff he has to clean up. He hasn't been perfect, but, he has so much raw potential. If he keeps that weight down where he's playing at right now, he could be really, really good for a very long time. I'm really excited about Becton. I think he's been great.
Yeah, and what do you think of that report that he hurt his knee in game 1 and they were going to take him out and he refused? He said, hell no.
That's what you want in an offensive line. I don't want the guy getting hurt. I don't want him getting hurt. But that's the big ticket. Like, I like Becton. What kills me right now is I love Douglas's draft, but I don't have any statistics to back it up because Mims isn't playing, Zuniga's not playing, Hall's not playing, Clark's not playing. Morgan, we don't really. I wasn't thrilled with that pick, but from
Ryan just
Becton.
started. Right.
Yeah, like everyone's just getting into this. Like, and a lot of people are like, oh, Douglas didn't do enough to surround Sam with talent. And look, you can say hindsight. Maybe you sign Robbie. He's had a good first 2 weeks. Perriman now hurt. This could be a trend moving forward. It's been a trend throughout his career. But we brought in Perriman. We brought in Mims. We brought in Hogan. We brought in Doxson. It's not our fault Doxson opted out. Like that's an issue in and of itself. You have Bell. Honestly, when Bell comes back, I would like to see Bell as a wide receiver way more than running back. I would keep Gore in at running back, have Gore pound the rock, use P. Ryan out like for all these little throws and screens and things of that nature, because they seem like they fit at least the blocking scheme that we're currently running. The issue is I don't want to see Gase that long. I would like him gone.
I'm with you on that one. I forgot where I was going on that. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
No,
we actually got a. No. If you think you can you round it out? Or nope, it's gone.
The Jets broke my brain. I'm sorry, Ryan.
It's broken. Garcus, thank you so much for the super chat. He says, "Why not fire Gase, promote Greg Williams to head coach, bring back Bates? Sam went toe to toe with Rodgers and Luke with Bates as OC. Plus, Sam would be familiar. It would be a placeholder until next year." So I would absolutely fire Gase. I would promote Greg Williams to head coach. I would use Jim Bob Cooter as the offensive coordinator because there's some like consistency there. I think you can get rid of Gase and not necessarily dismantle everything that's been going on. Now, Jim Bob Cooter did some great stuff. You got to get rid of Dowell Logans. That's a package deal. They're both gone. Like, sorry, right. Cooter's going to run the show on offense. He's going to focus on that. If you want to bring in Chad Pennington or someone else as a quarterback's coach, or God, if you want to bring back Jeremy Bates, I don't really care either way. I just want to see Sam get better.
Where is Jeremy Bates? Does anyone?
Right.
He's
probably
in the
like woods.
Yeah, no one's paying attention.
With Greenbean, are you kidding me? They're hanging out together.
Yeah, they're looking for Bigfoot.
Right there. He's right there.
I would say this, and here I was going to get into it a little bit later, but actually, you know what? I have not a conspiracy theory. I have a thought of what's going to happen, but I need this video to get up to 150 likes before I say what that's going to be. So if you guys can get this up to 150 likes, then I will drop some knowledge and some forethought, I think, on
I got it.
Something I don't want to happen, but I think I'm nervous. But yeah, so I don't like Adam Gase. I want to see him get canned. Too. Oh, Green Bean's got one. I'm going to say mine first because I think you might steal mine.
Yeah, I'm going to wait.
Okay.
175 for me.
175 for Green Bean, 150 for me. So we're up to 87 already. That's going to 91.
That's some shit, Ryan and O'Leary. We don't even have a quarterback coach. So this guy's not only do we not have an offensive coordinator, we don't have a quarterback coach. Adam Gase wants to do all of that and be the head coach. Like, it's the ego here, man. And look, and we all know there's not anybody on this panel right now, and I'm sure most of the people in the chat, not one person was happy about this hire in the first place. The only concern I have is that Chris Johnson would somehow stand in the way of Douglas. But I don't, and I got into a discussion about this on Jet Nation. I don't think remember when Douglas, we were working out the contract and everything with him. It took a while. It took longer than we thought it was going to take. And he ended up getting 6 years. Do you really think Douglas would have come here if he didn't have 100% full control of the team? He was getting a GM job somewhere. That was his year, man. We just happened to be earlier because it was, right after the draft and all that sort of stuff. So everybody had their GM. But do you think he's coming here if Chris Johnson still can override him? Like, in their contract. I mean, an owner can do anything he wants, but he has to have full control of the team. Right? Do we see this as a potential issue? Can Chris Johnson say, look, I don't want to pay Bowles, Gase, and somebody else or whatever? Like, can that happen, you think?
It absolutely could, but here's the thing. You're already paying Greg Williams. So, like, you give him a slight raise. Right. You're not bringing in an entirely new person. So there's the hope, at least. But
there's a good point.
The frustration with CJ is, like, it shouldn't be about the money at this point. Because if you have to forego Sam, you have just lost a ton of money. Like, that is a huge issue. You got to figure out what you have in Sam. Guys, remember, 150 likes. We're up to 109, so we're inching up there. Get me up to 150. You'll hear what I'm trying to. I'm worried about.
Hey, we were at 42 when you said that.
That's true. It was low.
Come on. Number
Oh,
264.
okay.
Come on, hit like. What's wrong with you?
See?
Let's do it.
What a jerk. What a jerk. Now, let's do this. Let's play a little bit of what are 3 negatives that you saw from the game. And then we'll go in and we'll do 3 positives for that. I think I have a little topic thing. Where's my little topic thing? I'm going to click off that. Click on that. Nope, that's the wrong one. Boom. All right, we'll go negatives from week 2 first. Green Bean, what are your negatives that you've seen?
Sorry, I was just cleaning my camera. The negatives, let's see here. One is that our wide receivers we left the game more decimated at wide receiver than we entered the game, and we were already in big trouble. So that's negative number 1. Negative number 2 is that our head coach really does look like he's in way over his head. He has no ability to change his plan midstream. So and the Perryman comment states that clearly. I do not know how. I had a play called to Perryman in those types of situations. He was hurt. I don't know what else to do. So that's what he's saying. That's negative number 2. Our coach is absolutely in over his head. And negative number 3, I'll dig a little bit for this one, is that sadly to say, our defense looks, outside of a couple of the positives that I have, our defense looks uninspired. And that I never expected that with Greg Williams leading that defense. I at least thought they would have fire, and they don't. So that is another major negative that actually took me by surprise, which sucks.
Matt, what would your 3 negatives be if you had to pick 3? I know there's a whole bunch, but let's pick 3 to keep it calm.
I'm gonna go play calling number 1. To me, that was the biggest negative. There were times where the Jets could have got themselves back into it, and the lack of urgency and the lack of trying to move down the ball down the field was just beyond frustrating. Number 2 is I'm going to call it defensive regression. I think we're seeing a down year for Greg Williams' defense, which over the course of his career has kind of happened a few times where he'd have a year where he looks really, really good, and then the next year, not so much. It's scary. This was a top 2 run defense in the league last year. They're giving up yards like it's going out of style. And the third one for me is the Chris Herndon drop in the end zone, because that was a beauty of a throw. And if Sam Darnold had 2 beautiful touchdowns like this, I think the narrative would be a little bit different this week.
Those are absolutely great takeaways.
That's a big one.
Yeah, that one hurt. I would say for me, biggest negative, Alex Ogletree is someone that I absolutely do not like on this defense. He is the reason we gave up that 80-yard touchdown right off the bat. He's the reason we gave up the 3rd and 31, 55-yard run. Now, should it be entirely on him? It seems like he was out of position on both those plays. So that's my first negative. My second negative, the play calling for sure. I think I have to agree with Matt there. It was just suspect the entire time. It doesn't seem like there's any logic behind a lot of this. Like originally when we got Gase, there was videotape I'm watching. Actually, it might have been Blewett that actually broke down his Miami tape. And he's going over how, okay, he runs this one play early in the game, and then he runs a play that like looks almost exactly the same, but then tricks the defender, and now you got guys running wide open. I haven't seen any of this offensive mastermind, quarterback whisperer. I haven't seen any of these things. And like that's the most frustrating part, and seeing some of the things that just make sense, like going for it on 4th and 7. You got to go for it there. You're down by 3 scores. There's no reason not to. Running the practice squad running back up the gut on 4th and 1 when you have a future Hall of Famer in Frank Gore. Like, just that doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't sit well. Let's see, my biggest negative, it's got to be the wide receivers. Our bodies, I'm worried that what Green Bean said, I don't know if it was last week or 2 weeks ago, the guys that have mild injuries on better teams would play through those injuries. The Jets on a bad team, they're not willing to risk their body. Now, no. I don't blame them. I get it. it's such a violent sport. Why risk your health and your profession for someone you don't believe in? And it's like, there's not really too much of a negative for that. I don't know. Those would be my 3 negatives, I think. It's the injuries at the wide receiver position. We're crippled right now. And I don't know if there's a right answer, because I don't think – it's not like you're signing – Des Bryant isn't coming in to help us. You're not getting Antonio Brown. Like, I would be all for bringing in Brown at this point just to give us a weapon, but he's out for the first 8 weeks. He's never going to sign with us. He's going to go to a contender. He'll go to Seattle. He'll go to, the Ravens or somewhere like that where he actually has a shot to win. No gamble of a player is coming into the New York Jets without us trading away assets. And I just don't see Douglas making those types of moves right now. I think we're kind of set with where we're at right now. I'm a little concerned about it because I think you got to see what you have in Sam, but I don't think we're going to give up the assets needed to make a move. Now, let's flip the script a little bit, and let's talk about the positives.
Yay!
What positives are there from week 2? Let's try to name, I'll say 3. If you can't get 3, that's fine. Matt, I'll let you start this one. Positives from week 2.
Okay. First one is Mekhi Becton is a legitimate starting left tackle, which is good. We like to see that 2 games into his career. That is a major win. Number 2 for me is Quinnen Williams showed a pulse. 2 sacks, a lot of plays behind the line of scrimmage. Also good. Third, I don't know if I have a third, Ryan. I don't think I have a third.
This was a bad subject because it's literally going to be the same for, I think, all 3 of us. So I think we could probably agree on both those points right off the bat. Really happy with what we got out of Quinnen Williams. He's starting to kind of turn that corner, and I'd like to continue to see more of that pressure up the middle. Becton just being a mauler. The offensive line is really something that I'm proud of. It was one season. We flipped it around. We still need some more pieces. You could use a right tackle. You could use another guard. Like, there's pieces there. Ooh, I got a negative that I didn't bring up before. Sorry, it's a little out of. I did not like McGovern. McGovern, who's been was a top 10 center when we signed him, has not played as such right now, and I'm hoping it's like just a gel thing. But overall, aside from McGovern, I'm happy with what I'm getting out of the offensive line, specifically Becton and Alex Lewis. Alex Lewis is playing himself right into a contract extension. I think
that
Fant, I think he's grown on me. I think he hasn't been blown up the way maybe some Jet fans might have thought he could be in terms of like guys beating him, like getting past and hitting Sam. I'm not upset with the offensive line really at all. I think it takes time to gel. So even with the little bit of hiccups here and there, I'm willing to kind of wait and sit this out. Quinnen Williams, very happy with that. I would say my other positive, I like Sam kind of calling out Gase a little bit here. It's not part of the game, but I think it's something that needed to be said. I think it's a clear message to Joe Douglas, like, hey, let's fix this. Let's get this turned around. Let's do the things like, okay, Sam, you should have the ability to call audibles. You should be able to call your number on 4th and 1. Like these little things, and especially watching the play, the pass to Herndon, like Matt mentioned, the pass to Berrios that Greenby mentioned at the end of the game. Yeah, it's in garbage time, but the way that it happened, that is the special part of Sam. That is what makes him so special. That would be my positive, I think. I think Sam sort of calling out Gase without calling out Gase, I guess, is my biggest takeaway, I think, from that. Greenbean, you got anything to add in terms of positives that you got to see?
I do. I have some positives. So another positive for me is that we got to see LaMichael Pirine. It's good for me coming that, with him being injured, he looked good in camp. He was injured and we got to see him. The fact, now we didn't see much from him, but the fact that we did see him means that he's on the way back. And I honestly believe in that kid, as you guys know very well, probably more than anybody. I like him. I don't think he's ever going to be a feature back, but I like LaMichael Pirine. I think he's good for the really tough yards. And I think we're always going to know what we get from him. And he's going to be with us for a long time. So that was another positive that I like. And I also like the fact that all these shitty receivers are going down. I want to see Cager, and I want to see these guys. And this is the only excuse we're going to have to bring them in. So And I like that Desir sucks because I'm waiting for Bryce Hall and Lamar Jackson to get in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like why these high upside guys are not being called up is sort of beyond me. It doesn't really make sense. Greg, thank you so much for the super chat. I don't see a question in there, but it's appreciated nonetheless. So I'll keep an eye out, see if I could see a question there from you. We did get to 150 likes, so I'll let you guys know I'll let you know my whole worried tinfoil hat theory that I think is going to go on.
All right.
Not that I think it's going to go on, that I'm worried it's going to go on. So, we've talked about Idzik and we've talked about Joe Douglas sort of having a little bit of similarities. They both trade away your top defensive player for first-round picks. They now have 2 first-round picks in their drafts, one with Revis, one with Jamal Adams. They inherit a head coach. They seemingly don't add a lot of talent around the quarterback or to the roster in general. Like, we didn't go after Clowney. We didn't go after Logan Ryan. We didn't go after Everson Griffin, Yannick Ngakoue, like guys that maybe we could have gotten to help this team and sort of push us forward a little bit. We didn't see that. Now, could the sabotage actually be happening? And then if it does happen, and we see Gase maybe the entire season, or we just sort of bottom out, we're worried about what's going to happen to Sam. Now, here's my theory. The Pittsburgh Steelers are in dire cap position next year. Big Ben, I think, is going to retire. That's going to free up $19 million of their cap space. They're still going to be in rough shape. They're going to have to make some adjustments. We've been saying we want to bring in Juju here. What happens if the Pittsburgh Steelers offer the Jets a first-round pick for Sam Darnold to reunite him with Juju, and now the Jets are sitting? You'd have to wait. You'd have to wait because if this isn't a move you make halfway through the season. This isn't a move you make until you know for a fact Trevor Lawrence is declaring. Because the worst thing that could happen is that he decides to go back to school with the Jets having the first pick, and we've already traded Sam away.
Yeah.
Now, I'm so worried that this could happen because it feels like it could. Like, it really does. And I don't... Let me know. Talk me off a ledge here. Or talk me off the ledge here. Matt, I'll let you go first.
I don't think Big Ben is going to retire and leave money on the table, even though he's banged up. They might try to force that on him. I understand your concern with the sabotage aspect. If the Jets were to trade Sam Darnold, I don't think you're getting a first rounder for him. I think he may be getting a second or third, maybe. And I don't want the Jets to trade him, but I think if you were looking for a place to trade him or a team that would inquire, I think it would be the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, that's another great spot. Greenman, what do you think about the whole conspiracy theory or thoughts on the situation?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. I don't know if anyone's going to want to give anything up if we keep Sam in this cage and he looks like he's looked. I mean, anybody can look at the team and go, he has no weapons. Anybody can see that. The offensive line is significantly improved, and I believe that they will get better as that's what offensive lines do. As the more that they play together, they get better. So I think that will be good, but he has no one to throw to, and Gase is obviously keeping him kind of penned in. If he doesn't show anything, I don't see anybody giving a number 1 pick. That's the problem I have. I mean, because his footwork, man, it's bad. I mean, the amount of times Sam jumps in the air to throw a pass is concerning, right? Like, that's not something that you see anywhere. Every now and then, if something happens, but he does it more than anybody else. So there are things there that would concern anyone. I don't know if I see Sam's trade value, unless he comes, really comes out of this and plays like gangbusters, being a number 1 pick. I struggle. And then I don't know if I would want to give him away for anything less than a number 1 pick. I don't know, man. That's rough. I mean, here's the thing with conspiracy theories, that I don't think anything is past Joe Douglas. Like I said, I think Joe Douglas probably had it in his mind that he was trading Jamal Adams the day that he went around him to Chris Johnson. and cried, and then Chris Johnson said, "Oh, don't worry, we're gonna sign you," and all this kinds of stuff. I guarantee it. And then he didn't. But I think that Joe Douglas, even the James Morgan pick seems odd to me. I know people are saying like, "Oh, he's just a backup quarterback." I don't know, man. I don't know when you have Sam Darnold, when there's all those great guys on the board, if taking James Morgan is something that's just, hey, I want a backup quarterback in here to develop under shithead Dowell Luggins and Gase. I mean, so I don't know. I think there's a lot more going on here than we are seeing. I don't know. I think Douglas is a little bit more shrewd than people are giving him credit for. But I also think he's making mistakes. So I don't know. I think it's possible, man, but I just don't know if I see the trade value being able to. I think that's the stumbling block here.
Yeah, I think I would have a hard time giving up Sam for anything less than a first. And to me, I don't like bringing in even Trevor Lawrence with the roster we currently have. Like, I think you need to build around Sam and just go all in. Like, whatever you do, go all in with Sam, build the roster. The worst case scenario, after year 4 or after year 5, after you use all these first round picks, you can trade your entire draft class and go up and get the quarterback you want. We saw the Eagles do it. They moved all the way up from what was it, the 20s that they were in when they moved up to get Wentz. Like, there's opportunities to do this. Now, if you're sitting there and you don't have to trade up and Trevor Lawrence is there, I would prefer that we move out of that number 1 pick and just get a haul for whatever we could do, unless Sam really looks that bad. If Sam looks that bad, look, I'm not going to tie myself to Sam. I think that's where you kind of get into a little bit of trouble, but I do believe in him. I really think he's a good quarterback, and I think I'd rather pull the plug on Gase and see what we have in Sam than roll with Gase all season and not know if it's Gase or Sam and then wind up drafting a new quarterback. That's what irks me the most, I think.
And that's the way to say it. Right. I agree 100% with that.
Matt,
Gase.
What do you think happens if the Jets get the first pick? Do you think we trade out of it? Do you think we make the pick at 1? Is it a quarterback? Is it not a quarterback? Who knows?
I hate this question. Not coming from you, just because I don't want to think about having the number 1 overall pick, but I think that they would trade out of it, and I would too, unless Sam is like awful the rest of the year. But if he is playing at least at the level that he was projected to finish at last year, like if his statistics carried over a full 16-game season, we're talking like 3,700 yards, 23 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, something like that, then I would probably say, okay, it's time to move on from Adam Gase, Eric Bieniemy, and take everything you learned from Andy Reid, bring it over here, and we're going to figure this thing out with Sam Darnold. I'm going to trade the first overall pick for a haul and completely rebuild my depleted offense and defense at some positions as well. Because you'd have the same issues that you had with Sam the last 2-3 years if you did the same thing with Trevor Lawrence, because you don't have the guys around him. Like, you had to move up to get Sam Darnold, and you give up so many picks where you're not able to, build a competitive roster. And now at this point, if you replace your 23-year-old quarterback with another young quarterback, you're essentially using that draft capital that could be used at other positions on a quarterback. So it's like completely starting over. I'm not for it.
Now, I guess, Green Bean, what do you think the Jets would do at number 1?
I think we're trading back for a haul. That's what I think.
Yeah, I think. Let's put a percentage on it. What do you think the percentage chance that the Jets wind up with the number 1 pick is? Because just looking at the schedule, I'm looking at it. For me, I guess if I had to fire Gase, and if we say that week 10 or week 11 at the bye week is too long, we have an opportunity here for a mini bye week. And what I mean is we have the Colts this week, then we have Denver on Thursday night. If we fire Gase after Denver, if we just bottom out these next 2 games and he loses the locker room, then you have at least 10 days before you play the Cardinals. And that's some time. It's not a full 2-week bye, but it's at least some time. And then you get to see kind of where we could go. Because then you get into a little bit of a stretch here. I don't know. I mean, I guess this is the stretch that you kind of possibly win. If you get a cold Rivers against the Colts, you got a backup quarterback with the Broncos. the Cardinals are really good. That whole friggin' division is tough. I don't know. I think if the Jets hold on to Gase, the longer they hold on to Gase, the higher the likelihood is that they get the number 1 overall pick.
And is that the goal?
It might be. I mean, I'm just looking at the schedule here. Games that I thought could have been wins based on what I'm seeing right now. The Dolphins, the Raiders, the Browns. Like maybe the Browns week 16. Could you imagine if that's what it turns into? Like that's the first pick bowl. They call it the Super Bowl with the Browns in it. Like that's terrible. I don't want to see that. Although if we get the first pick, I'm all about trading out and just trying to rebuild around Sam. That might be the one really good shot we have, because then all of a sudden you get a head coach. And Greenbean and I talked about this last week, was Greg Roman from the Ravens coming over, being our new head coach. I think he's going to be highly sought after. The Jets are going to have a lot of cap space, going to have that number 1 overall pick. This is where I get a little nervous, because maybe they trade Trevor Lawrence and try to get the running quarterback like a la Lamar Jackson. But Greg Roman was able to build his offenses in the past around quarterbacks of different skill sets. Like you have Lamar Jackson, you have Colin Kaepernick. Like those are kind of same-ish mold. Tyrod Taylor, sort of, and then Alex Smith. Like Alex Smith and Tyrod, like there's probably a progression. Alex Smith, Tyrod Taylor, Kaepernick, Lamar. That's the spectrum. But he's able to build that offense around an entirely different set of quarterbacks, each time. And I think that's what we need in here. We need some creativity, and we need to use the pieces we have here to our benefit. And it just doesn't feel like that's what we're doing with Gase.
Yeah, I love Greg Roman. I'd be all for that. I think he would be a good choice. If not the enemy, then Roman's probably number 2 on my list.
Right. The reason I like Roman, and people are like, oh, well, Roman has Lamar Jackson. There's some, even in the chat, people are kind of alluding to that. The thing to remember is that he, mid-season last year, they went from Flacco to Lamar Jackson and then revamped the entire offense to make sense for Lamar Jackson. That was what Greg Roman was tasked with doing. And look at the success. You know what I mean? So, a year and a half ago, you know what I mean? I think that he's proven it with more than one time. If he's not a one-hit wonder like Todd Bowles or some of these other guys that, they have 1 or 2 good years and then they're up for a head coaching job. Greg Roman, I think, is a very strong candidate. He's probably my first candidate. And I don't know. I'd probably be really interested in a college head coach, somebody who's already been a head coach. But yeah, I think Roman's great, man. I think he'd be the guy to get if we could.
Man, if we could get, so Greg Roman, just kind of the Ravens connection. Basically, anytime there's a Ravens player or a Ravens coach, I feel like there's some sort of connection with Joe Douglas in his past, and hopefully there's like that draw to come here. Now, C.J. Mosley, how long has Roman been with the Ravens now? He's been there 2 years, or has he been there 3?
I'm gonna say 2 or 3.
Yeah, because they fired what's his name? The guy we had. What was his name again?
Well, was it Mike Mularkey?
No, it was.
So he's been with the Ravens now since 2017. So Mosley was there with him. Maybe that's like, I don't know. Do you think Mosley opting out is him not wanting to play with Gase and not wanting to be here with Gase, or do you think it's actually like COVID related, even though he's out at a bar in Alabama?
The thing with Mosley is that he already got his $10 million. He knows damn well that we're gonna suck. We traded Jamal Adams. Like in that comment that he put it a tweet that he needs to find his fire. Dude, I mean, in 1 year with the Jets, without even playing for us, he's lost his desire to play football. Now, I think if the $10 million had to wait for him to play, I think we'd be seeing him. You know what I mean? He lost some money, but he already got a $10 million check not to play. And I think, it's aggravating. It's got to be aggravating going through this cycle. Like you see Jordan Jenkins and some of these guys, the way that their interviews are going, they're just like, it's got to be more frustrating to be inside of it and be dealing with this than even for us. So yeah, man, I think first of all, Mosley was a terrible signing with the way that we signed him, just offered him $17 million a year. But I think if Greg Roman came and we actually built some things, he might find that fire again if we look like we have a shot. You know what I mean? Who the hell wants to play for this team right now? The guys on the field don't want to play.
I would throw stupid money at Urban Meyer to get him here. I really like Urban Meyer. He was really good. He's got some of his issues, and he's got some health problems to go along with it as well. Guys, if you did not see in the above me, it was in the corner before, Jets Talk is proud to announce our new sponsor for the NFL season, MyBookie.ag. This NFL season, anyone who signs up at MyBookie.ag and uses promo code JT receives a 100% bonus match up to $1,000. Use promo code JT. Bet with me, win some money. MyBookie.ag, promo code JT. Double your money today. MyBookie.ag, promo code JT. I also have our other little sponsor. We got Kalo. If you guys have not tried Kalo, they're actually not giving me any money for this. This is just something that I really enjoy having. It's a CBD infused seltzer. Really good. You can get it. It's locally, I guess locally made. It's Lincoln Park, New Jersey. So it's like 15 minutes from where I am. We had it for a golf outing one time, and I was having the worst day ever, and I crushed 2 cans of these, and I was like, life's gonna be all right. life doesn't suck right now. So I stick by it. It's really good. It's refreshing. No alcohol or anything like that, but really good. And guys, if you have not checked out, down below in the description, I have these beautiful content creators pages. Make sure you follow them, as well as the podcast. This Talking Jets panel is now going to be in podcast form as well. So it's going to be the same show that you got here, but if you don't want to kill your phone battery when you're in the car or do something like that, you can find that on Google, Apple, Podbean, Spotify. I think it should be on all of them at this point. But if you want to check that out, this show will be on there probably tomorrow or later tonight, whenever I can rip the audio from here. Guys, I'm going to let you talk for a second because I've drank a little too much Kalo and I have to go to the bathroom.
That's what happens. It's called cause and effects, right, Matt?
Yes. This is what happens. If you're going to have a couple of drinks, you're going to have to use the bathroom. But Green Bean, I wanted to get your take on just this upcoming week. Do you think they have any shot whatsoever, or is this just going to be another bloodbath?
Well, the thing, did they win this week?
Yeah, they beat Minnesota. They made Kirk Cousins look like garbage. He had 114 yards passing and 3 picks.
Oh my gosh. See, this has been 2 days of travel for me, so I haven't been able to, nor have I had the desire to really look at football. It's like I'm just coming back out of the woods right now.
Yeah.
In truth, I think that we're not beating anybody like this. And I think if any team has shown any ability to play cohesively, they're going to stomp our faces in. I just don't see it. I mean, Quinnen Williams, like we said, he looked like he came alive. Who knows? That could just be that one game that he had. Who knows? Hopefully that continues. I like some players on our team, but overall, I think the players want Gase gone, and we're gonna see more of that attitude than we are gonna see a passionate, rallying. I don't see a rally. It's like, who's gonna rally him? Who? We lost. I mean, Jamal Adams is gone. If he might have had a chance of doing it if he gave a shit. But
yeah, that's the thing. I feel like at this point, if Jamal was here, I just think he would have been pouting. I don't think he would have been able to rally the troops. And I don't know if there is anyone on this roster who can do it. Maybe Le'Veon, but he's hurt right now. Sam doesn't seem like that guy. And I do believe that Gase lost the locker room. And I think if they lose this week, which is, in my opinion, pretty likely, I just think the Colts are a much more well-coached team. And if they get embarrassed at home on Thursday Night Football, that might be the end of the line for Gase. 0-4 against a team with a backup quarterback, that might be it. So I don't think they have much of a shot this week, and I think that they very well could be 0-4 with a new coach.
What do you think, though, Matt? Do you think that there's any validity to the idea that they're okay with tanking? They're not saying they're tanking, they're not going to do that, but that Gase is going to stay the whole time because it's all part of the plan?
I don't think this is part of the plan. I really
So Mitt Flair actually asked this question. I don't know if you guys said that or not, but thank you for the super chat. He says, you guys think JD is using Gase to get the number 1 pick? That was his question. Oh, God. I don't think so. That seems like it would definitely be I don't know. I would hope that's not the case. I don't want to see guys set up for failure.
That's what it would be. I mean, and someone in the chat said that the Broncos signed Bortles today, who beat the Jets up pretty good a couple of years ago. So who knows? This this could really this really could be 0-4, which is depressing.
Ugh. Yeah, no, I don't see. Honestly, if it's 0-4, it's going to be a lot more than 0-4 because after that you get the Chiefs. There's the Cardinals are in there. The friggin' I mean, you look at the schedule; it's not favorable for the New York Jets. Last year, you got to remember too. This team last year finished 7-9, but that was a very goofy 7-9. We really probably should have been 5-11. You've got to think the win against the Steelers against their third string quarterback, which I feel like we eked out. I didn't even feel like it was a very amazing win, like the way it probably should have been. And then Buffalo, they played all their backups week 17. So this is a team when you look at it, if you think of them as a 5-11 team last year, and you see the injuries, the no preseason, the hamstring that is the head coach. It feels a lot more realistic to see a 3-13 type season because there's gonna be a week in here that we're not projecting right now that the Jets are gonna beat someone they shouldn't. They're gonna lose to people they shouldn't, but they'll wind up showing up for a game, and we're gonna be surprised here. Tavares Griffin says Falcon fan will trade you Quinn for Gase.
No, we won't.
No,
we got to get an offensive mind. And you do not want Gase. Trust me, you do not want Gase. I would take Dan Quinn and the offense he's been able to assemble and utilize, or whoever his offensive coordinator is. I know he's a defensive guy, but I would take Quinn over Gase right now. Absolutely.
Yeah, I lost my train of thought. Shit. What were you saying?
Sorry.
Quinn. Oh man, I fried out. I just pulled a Matt O'Leary.
Yeah,
sorry.
two of us, man.
The Jets broke our brains.
That's just it. I'm trying to watch this whole game and just from the second that handoff happened, I was like, oh man, shit, he's gonna get a first down. Oh man, now he's really getting a first down. No, he's got a touchdown. It's like,
yeah,
this is how my Sunday's going.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. I don't think Gase gets another job after this. It's going to be like McCagnon. That's how bad who we have running the team really is. McCagnon was the boss. He's not even being looked at as a scout. He's never going to work again, in this capacity. Gase, when he gets fired, he's our head coach right now. When he gets let go, whenever that should be, no one's going to pick him up. No one. He won't be a quarterback coach. He won't be an offensive coordinator. I'm telling you, I guarantee it. There is nobody that wants to be around this fucking guy. Pardon my French. I'm sorry.
No, I think you're spot on. I don't think he gets a job after this. I think this is his final stand. It's a place where they felt he had the quarterback in place. It was someone who could be, healthy, unlike Tannehill was. But I think that the real damning evidence, aside from us questioning his play calling and everything like that, you look at Kenyon Drake, you look at Ryan Tannehill, you look at Parker, you look at Landry, all these guys that he had under him are now playing so much better, and guys that I don't see development happening on the offensive side of the ball at all. Aside from, I guess, is it Jim Bob Cooter that would be the running backs coach? Is he helping with the offensive line? I don't know. Whoever our offensive line guy is, that would be the only growth that I have seen, and that could just be pure raw ability of guys, coming in and just being better than the last guys we had. I don't know.
Definitely. And I think if you mentioned that Gase wouldn't get another job, which I agree with, the only reason why our offensive coordinator is still in the league is because he's friends with Adam Gase. Dowell Loggins probably, if Gase it doesn't exist, Dowell Loggins doesn't have a job in the NFL for 3 years at this point.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that speaks volumes. It's the same way, and I already forgot his name, but the defensive coordinator, Casey Rogers, he only has a job because of Bowles. Yeah. He wasn't looked at for another defensive coordinator last year. He's now the line coach in Tampa because Bowles brings him everywhere he goes. And it's that's what we're looking at with the guys that we choose to run our damn team. Adam Gase is not going to get hired anywhere else. And if you look at, just like Matt said, Dowell Loggins, what is he going to be hired for? Offensive coordinator? No way. Quarterback coach? No way. He doesn't do anything. And right now, these guys are in charge of our happiness. Pisses me off.
The factory. Man. It's like the Browns used to be the factory of sadness. Now, guys, I did release a new shirt. It's the one sitting right here. Just End the Suffering. It's got the little broken green heart. If you do want to get that shirt, It is for sale on jetstalk.com, so you can head over there and, support the sadness, I guess. That is our damn season. Oh, God. I guess, do we want to keep harping on this game? Do we want to try and look forward to the Colts? I don't even know if I could think of the Colts right now. I feel like I'm so flustered over everything that I've seen so far.
It's tough, dude. It's demoralizing when you're this bad this early in the year.
Right. And you know what sucks is that Josh Allen threw for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. Mm-hmm. Look at that organization. Like, they took a guy who was one of the most inaccurate quarterbacks to come out in recent memory, and they built around him and worked with him, and he's now throwing for 400 yards. Nobody will argue that Darnold was a better prospect. And we are throwing his entire career in the trash. Like, that's what we get to see. The Patriots, Tom Brady leaves, and they get Cam Newton, and he's playing like, it's like, what is this abyss that we sit in? What is it? Why, Ryan?
I would love to know. I'm not even like that. Like, I feel bad for you, Green Bean. You've had to watch this for so long. I'm 25 years into it. I'm, 30. I'll be 31 in November. So yeah, 25 years of knowledge and actually watching the game of just sadness. Now we got Matt and I, we're probably watching the most successful chunk of Jets football there's ever really been. We've had a horrible run from 98 to 2010, probably the most successful stretch of Jets football that the Jets have ever had.
Right. We started to forget that we could suck this bad. We knew we had bad years. You know what I mean? I said this to my son the other day. We were talking about Rich Kotite, and I said, it's crazy. I never thought in a million years that it was possible to suck to that level again. It's one thing to not be good. You know what I mean? But, 6-10, 4-12, even 3-13, but you're competitive. I never thought this. What we're watching is the worst that could possibly take place. There's nothing redeeming outside of a player here and there, but I never thought it was possible again, man. It's that bad.
The worst thing is you have the 3 years of Sam Darnold wasted on that rookie contract, a guy that I really believed was going to be a franchise quarterback, and I think he still can be a franchise quarterback, but we're just burning it away. Even if the Jets get the first pick and Sam does look like he's pretty good, does it make more sense if you are about winning and you want to win a Super Bowl? Does it make sense to get the rookie on the cheap deal and trade Sam for whatever you could get because he looked good now? Man, I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is. It's a very frustrating situation for the New York Jets.
Well, the only thing I'll say there is that it really, if you have the number 1 pick, then it makes no sense. But I mean, then it's a real conversation. But if you have to move up in order to do that or anything like that, it's really a shame that we get these 2 picks and one of them has to be used on the one guy we thought we had. You know what I mean?
Yeah, if that was the case, right? If you're finishing 1.
Right. It's we got to use one of these 2 picks. We want to build the supporting cast. We want to get the stud, blue chip wide receiver. We want to get the blue chip edge rusher. And here we are again talking about quarterback. It's terrible.
The best thing that comes out of the season, Sam proves he's the franchise quarterback. If that's what we get, and we could go 0-16. I don't care. if he proves that he's a franchise quarterback, I don't know how you do that if you're 0-16. But if he can do that, that to me is a win for this season. And you get rid of Gase, hopefully. But Matt, you were about to say something.
Yeah, I wanted to say that, well, first to go off what you just said, I am very much rooting for Sam Darnold to get a chance at the real head coach, a quarterback coach, offensive coordinator, and be put in a position to succeed. But it's depressing that 3 years into Sam Darnold's career that we're talking about potentially taking another quarterback. And it's because of the ineptness of this franchise. When you look at what Mike Cagnon did trying to build around Darnold for 2 years, Green Bean brought up Josh Allen, who we all know how I feel about Josh Allen as a passer. But to the Buffalo Bills' credit, they have done a phenomenal job of putting pieces around him, and they have a really good head coach, and they are in a position to succeed with probably a worse prospect, but they are getting more out of him because of the coaching, the players around him, the talent. It's just, it really stinks that you have to watch Sam Darnold throw to Malone, Berrios, and the corpse of Chris Hogan in the year of our Lord 2020. It's ridiculous.
The corpse of Chris Hogan, right, man?
Yeah.
It's just like, this is what we joked about it in the off season. Like, oh my God, if these guys get hurt, could you imagine if he was if the starting wide receivers were like, Berrios, and it's like, when here we are, man.
Our top four weapons. You got, I mean, I guess Herndon would be in there, but not the way he's playing this year. Bell,
right,
Mims, Perriman, Crowder, all out right now. Oh God, this is
right. And then the one guy that is still playing that we really had hope for dropped a fucking dart in the end zone. A beautiful play. Yeah. He drops it. And the week before, he did the same thing. So he's not looking good, man. He's not looking.
He's had 2 drops in that game, actually. It was the one in the end zone was the big one, but then on a drive after, it might have been the very next drive, he dropped one that it wasn't a big play, but it would have been a completion over the middle for 6-7 yards. That stuff matters, man.
Yeah, it does. There's no momentum. There's nothing. We don't follow a good play with a good play. If we have one for 8 yards or 12 yards, doesn't matter. We're just going to go 3 and out the next first down, or whatever it is. Like, we have no drive, and that's why that 3rd and 1 was so damn important, because it was the first time we were actually putting something together, and we blew it because of the ineptness of our leadership, Adam Gase and Dowell Logans. I wonder how like Jefferson and Cooter and these guys really feel, and Pollock and everybody.
Could you imagine? Yeah.
Like, what do they think? I mean, what does Douglas really think of Adam Gase right now? Does he think, hey, man, it's really a bad deck of cards?
I would think no. And the scary part that I keep seeing is people who are saying, well, if you fire Gase now, how much better could it really be with, who are they going to put in that position? Well, I mean, Jim Bob Cooter he's called plays for the Lions, and like Matt Stafford, he's had a decent amount of success. Like, I'm not saying I want him to be the OC long term, but if we're talking, the last 11 games of the year, the last 12 games of the year, then I'm all for trying to get something else. I don't see a way how you can continue to run Adam Gase out there with the game plan week after week after week and expect something different to happen.
Right. Yeah, I mean, how could it get worse? Dude, like we talked about already a couple times, the answers to those questions, and I don't like the New York press. I really don't. But you got to give them a little bit of credit for the balls they have to ask those pointed questions. You know what they're getting at there. And they asked Sam, can you change that call because of what you saw? We were all looking at it. We knew what the call should be, and you did something else. Can you change it? Is it you? I'm not allowed to change it. And then the answers from Gase. That Perryman, dude, I've never heard an answer that bothered me like that.
Yeah.
Well, I had a call, I had a play, but Perryman was hurt, so I couldn't use that play.
Dude, give me a break with that. All this guy does is talk about injuries on his side of the ball. Last year, how many guys were hurt on Greg Williams' side? And do we ever hear him say, oh, we need to get bodies back, or I didn't have player X, so I couldn't do this or that? Shut up, man. Give me an effing break. Just do something. You should be able to, if you're an offensive genius, like everyone claims, you should be able to scheme guys open, which he could never do. Part of the reason why Sam Darnold was throwing to the line of scrimmage every time was because nobody else was open. They couldn't do anything. So
right. And how much does it bother you? We saw it again, him sitting alone, drawing in the scrapbook. What is that?
He's just a hermit.
Have we ever seen that before? Maybe it's just glaring and I don't recall any other coach ever sitting alone during the middle of a game when their team's getting killed drawing in a book.
No, who knows what he's doing?
Do you think he's even coloring inside the lines? I don't think he's even coloring inside the lines. I think he's done. That's just I'm just so fried. I know people got upset with Bowles about having that sort of personality where it didn't look like anything was going on. He was just like, oh, he's never upset. He doesn't show any emotion. I didn't think it could get worse. Gase is
Worse.
like 10 times worse than that.
He's worse than Bowles, and Jeremy Bates is somehow better than what they have now in Dow Loggins. It's unbelievable how bad of a job they did around their 21-year-old franchise quarterback. It's truly disgraceful. It goes from at the top, ownership, really. That's where the issue lies.
With that whole coach and GM report directly to the owner bullshit that they do. Like, what is that? Especially with guys who literally, they so clearly that they don't know what they're doing as far as running a football team. They've hired outside consultants twice in head coaching searches. That says we don't even know what we're looking for, yet we want to be in the mix. It's like, I don't know, man. It does. It really, the buck stops right there with ownership. I wish Gary V could buy the damn team.
Yes.
And me.
That would
put
be
it
fantastic. Him or the dude that just bought the Mets, Cohen.
Hey,
just get buku money. Oh, I'd be all about it. Mumtaz, thank you for the super chat. He says, guys, how would we find out about Sam when the game plan he has is simpler than the one we have for Geno Smith? Seriously, we only ran 2 plays, I think. Yeah, I think with Adam Gase here as our offensive coordinator and head coach, I do not think we're going to find out what we have in Sam. I think he needs to be gone for us to figure that out.
Agreed 100%. I don't know how much, I know Green Bean's on the road, and I know you were working, Ryan, but I don't know if you were able to watch too much of the other games on Sunday, but I always, when I'm, writing my notes for the post-game video, I flip on Red Zone, and what I notice every time, it looks like the Jets are playing a different sport than these other teams. They are slow. They are methodical. It is just everything. We're going to dink and dunk our way down the field. We're going to run into the A-gap a million times. And you have all these other teams like Cliff Kingsbury in Arizona doing these really cool, creative things. The Chiefs every week are doing these creative things. And it's like, I know we don't have the same personnel as some of these teams, but it's just – in 2020 in the NFL, like I don't see how you can continue to play the way that Gase does. It's just truly, it gets me every week. It really does.
Yeah.
Guys, you want to get to
that was perfect, Matt.
You want to get to some of the Colts, I guess, preview as best we can. Start talking about maybe the game that's sort of in front of us, and then maybe I don't even know how much I could really go over. It's hard for me to be creative. I could tell you what I want to see, I guess. That's about it. Not a whole lot of hope. Maybe we get into a little bit of phone calls at the end, maybe like last 15 minutes or so. We'll loop around some calls. Now, in terms of the Colts, I don't know what kind of Jets we're going to get. Are we going to get the same old Jets that we've seen the last 2 weeks and all of last season? Or do we get something that, like, do we pull a Dallas game out of our, butts? I think the former with the duds and the everything that we're seeing there, that seems like it's more of what we're going to get, especially if I don't even know. I mean, they have some injuries too. The Colts do. That's one thing we could talk about an entire episode about is the amount of injuries across the NFL. What would you guys say?
It's really incredible. And last week was brutal to the NFL.
It was really bad.
Yeah.
Brutal. Yeah, I don't know. I think it goes back. I mean, obviously it's a shortened, everything was, compressed and weird with COVID and everything. But it really does go back to the last CBA when they changed all the practicing rules and that they can't hit and all that stuff. I mean, clearly they have to see the injuries have doubled and tripled, whatever the numbers actually are, since they've taken out the preparation. I know they don't want to work harder. I get it. I understand. But the injuries are just, they're so much worse since that CBA because they don't hit in practice at all. It's like I watch practices sometimes, like, I'll go on Jets 360 and just watch. And it's like, I always wonder, like, when are they going to start practicing? Like, how do they even know? Like, I don't know, man. Maybe they do more inside so the press can't see. I don't know. But it just looks like, how can they possibly, I practiced my 9 and 10 and 11-year-olds harder than they're practicing. And it's like, so I don't know if it's going to improve. But like you said earlier, Ryan, if they have a winning team, the little dings and dents and all that shit, they're going to play through that stuff. as opposed to us. He gets a hurt finger. He's like, oh, yeah, I'm out. You know what I mean? They don't want to play.
And I can't blame him for not wanting to play. Couple things. One, I think it was Connor Hughes in The Athletic was talking about how a lot of these teams scrimmaged in the preseason and hit, and the Jets really didn't do that. The only scrimmage they had was when the third team beat the first team by like 21 or something stupid. But there was very little tackling from the New York Jets in training camp, which is an issue, which is they missed the most tackles. I think they've missed 40 tackles in 2 games, something crazy. And also I was listening on ESPN radio, and Bart Scott was talking about, while a lot of people don't like the preseason games, it's important for the football players to have those games so that they could get their body right and get used to getting hit again. It's not like you can ramp it up from 0 to 100 and expect everything to be fine. Like, you have to get that body right and used to getting the pads hit. And if you're not doing that at a significant, rate early on, the first few weeks of the year are going to be rough, which is what we're seeing, I think.
Now, do you guys think that because of this season, I don't think they're going to get rid of preseason. I think based on what we're seeing right now, I think they're going to, maybe they shorten it to 2 games, but I think for sure we're still going to have preseason beyond this year.
I definitely agree.
Yeah, I think so. And thank God, like we talked about in a humorous fashion, I really wanted to watch some. I mean, I would have loved to watch preseason, but we're seeing the actual applicable reasons for it. Right. They need that, just like Matt was saying. It doesn't make sense to go from 0 to an actual game that means something because your body's not ready for that.
Yeah. Ryan, thank you for the super chat. He says, did you guys hear the Avery Williamson interview today? He ripped on Gase's practices. Do you think Williamson is upset that he's not playing and is now lashing out at Gase? Do you think it's I think it's telling. I don't know, if you start hearing more of these kind of whispers, I don't understand how you could keep Gase. Once you lose the locker room, it's over.
Yeah, I think so. And I think they're really close to losing the locker room. Like, a lot of people gave Gase credit at the end of last year, and they're like, oh, they went 6-2 and he didn't lose the locker room. Well, 2 games into this year, like, the locker room's cooked already. And I don't think the reason for it is because Jamal Adams is gone and he's not the motivation factor. I just think it's that it's the same crap from last year, the same issues, and they're tired of it. They don't want to keep getting up, like Green Bean says, and if they're a little banged up, what's the point of them going out to play for a team that's this god awful and this awfully coached? I really don't blame them for a second, and I really do think the locker room's gone. So hopefully they prove me wrong this week, but I don't know, man.
Right, and then add to it, they're all on 1-year contracts. They're not going to blow the next payday for this horse shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. God, it is piss poor what we've seen. As far as the locker room goes, I don't think Jamal Adams was lying when he said those comments that ultimately I think got him shipped off. I mean, you got to go back and sort of see, okay, well, was what Jamal said, is that true? All right, Avery Williamson, we're starting to hear that now. Sam Darnold's sort of saying he's not allowed to audible. Like, this is all kind of weird. Now,
yeah,
Steve Rose says no way Chris Johnson fires him mid-season after defending him publicly. I think that's our biggest issue right now. I think there would have to be – it would have to come from Douglas, but that's not how the power structure works. It's going to have to come from Chris Johnson, and I'm worried that his potential stubbornness will impede this team from getting better.
Please go, Matt. Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think you're right. I think him coming out and defending Gase was scary just because, I mean, we watch the games every week. We know how he's not an offensive genius. And I don't think he's someone who likes to admit his mistakes. If he did, I don't think he'd be here this year. I think they would have moved on after 1 year. But to play devil's advocate for a second and maybe give us some hope, Joe Douglas is on a 6-year deal. I think Joe Douglas has more pull than Gase. So if Douglas went to ownership and was like, hey, like, we got to get this guy out of here, or this thing could go off the rails for longer than anticipated, then maybe that's what gets it done. But I don't know. I think it's a completely reasonable doubt that we're having.
So 2613 Mike, thank you for the super chat. He says, I listened to the Avery Williamson interview on the Fan. It got blown out of proportion. What he said was speed and effort wasn't there in practice. Players need to do better, which is what Matt was alluding to earlier in the show. That makes me feel a little bit better. Because Avery Williamson doesn't seem like a guy that would take any sort of shot at the head coach. Now, is that inadvertently kind of a shot because guys aren't practicing hard? Is it because they're not playing tough for Adam Gase? Do they just know that this season looks like it's going to be a wash and they don't want to risk their bodies? There's a lot of potential issues with this. Even if you bring in a new head coach, how much effort are you going to get out of guys that, I don't know.
Sucks. We're so deflated. It's only week 2. There's still 15 more weeks.
This is what happened last year. We had a great week 1, and then Sam gets mono, and pure deflated right after that. For this to happen twice. I want these Jets YouTube channels to grow, and while we stink, this doesn't happen. Oh God! The fact that we have 420 people, I think we had like 450 people in here at one point. We only have 198 likes. We got 400 people in here. Drop some likes. Show some love.
Wasn't Green Beans supposed to drop a hot take at 175? What happened here?
He was. We got to hear about Green Beans.
Well, I kind of did. I was talking about, I was just alluding to the fact that it's all a big plan that they're doing this specifically to get the number 1 pick so they can bounce Darnold and that whole thing. It was just some shit I was thinking. I got us past 175 likes though. So.
It worked.
Yeah, no, you blew past it. It's great. Look,
it just kind of came out organically.
No, I think it's one of those things that I think there are, thoughts of that potentially being true. It's no different than, me saying last year that I think Jamal's upset that he wasn't traded to Dallas. I think that proved to be true. I think this could absolutely, look, Douglas didn't draft Sam. It's not his quarterback. There's the connection that you have when you draft a guy versus inheriting a guy is totally different. Now, I'm of the belief that Sam was part of the reason Douglas came in. He felt like he had the quarterback. He didn't have to look for the quarterback based on his scouting because he scouted Sam. He scouts everyone. No. I'm hoping that Sam's our guy. If we wind up like really high up in the draft order, I want to see an edge rusher. Or could you imagine getting the tackle out of Oregon as your right tackle? And now all of a sudden
you'd have to be like top probably 2 to get that. But yeah.
Yeah, he's going to be that's just it. You can't really trade down. If you're in 1, you have to stay in the top 5, I think. I think you'd have to get a massive haul to move back further than that because then you're losing out on blue chip guys. You're losing out on, Jamar Chase or the edge rusher from, Miami or Florida.
I know this usually goes against my logic in drafting, but I really want Jamar Chase. I watched him a lot last year, and maybe it's recency bias playing with Joe Burrow, but I like that guy a lot. I think if you sign a guy like Juju Smith-Schuster, if Allen Robinson hits free agency, and you go into next year with Juju, let's say, Jamar Chase, Crowder, and Mims, now you're with like Eric Bieniemy at head coach, maybe you have half a shot in hell of winning some football games.
Yeah. Look, I understand the wide receiver. I'm not afraid to take a wide receiver high in a draft. You guys know I was high on CeeDee Lamb. Jamar Chase. That's a tough conversation for me, I think. For me, if we're that high, it's either him or the edge rusher. I feel like it's tough to get like a blue chip edge rusher. If you think one of those guys could be the guy, but that said, you got to win with offense. And I can see receiver being that option that you kind of go with there.
Well, you know what's funny too, man, is that we are talking as if we didn't draft an absolute stud because he can't get on the damn field with his hamstrings. And so what is this? Like he had that handed, injury in college, but other than that, he was healthy. This is, look at Laviska Shenault lighting it up and
Yeah.
his concern was injuries. And now he's out there lighting it up. Mims was the safer bet, and he can't get on the field. Like, we have an absolute 6'3", 4.38 speed, hands catching, run blocking maniac, and he can't be on the field. We're talking about drafting another number one wide receiver, which I think we should do. But it's like these guys, I don't know, man. Like the draft class, it's really a shame that we're not seeing them yet because of injuries. Clark, Zuniga, Pirine, Mims, they're all out because of injuries. And that's another thing that really falls back on our organization. I mean, everybody's being hit by injuries. I'm not trying to say it's only us, but at the same time, to have the most IR guys last year out of anybody in the league, and then this year, our entire draft class outside of the friggin' punter and Becton are hurt. It's just, I don't know. It's disheartening because not only do I want to see Darnold, but I want to know what we have in Mims. If this guy is the next Michael Thomas, let's say, third round pick, even though he was a late second round pick, but that comes in and is obviously, a number one wide receiver. Do we use that first round pick on another wide receiver? Do we get a right tackle and then, and an edge rusher and wait till the second for a wide receiver? It sucks that we're not seeing these guys. But I don't even know if Gase knows how to use them. Like, that's the thing.
You were mentioning some of the draft picks, which I wanted to mention somebody else who was from this draft class. Why haven't we seen Ashton Davis outside of kick returns? That's something that I don't understand. I thought the whole thing was that Ashton's someone who could play all over the field and do a whole bunch of fun different things, 3 safety looks. Has anyone seen him on the field on defense, not special teams?
The first play of the game where they went 80 yards was a 3 safety look, actually.
Okay.
Ashton, I believe, played over the top. I think May was in the box.
May took
look, I want to see Ashton Davis some more. I want to see a little bit of flash there. He was a guy that sort of, to me, felt like he was special teams this year and groomed this year to take over for, whether it's May or, it's going to wind up being McDougal. I hope we hold on to May after this year. I'd like to see that. I don't think we'll let him go. I think with what Buda Baker just got paid, he got paid like $15 million a year. I would have to imagine May is going to be somewhere in that threshold, based on what we're currently seeing right now.
It's crazy. Do you think that maybe, as somebody just said in the chat, he got leveled by a block on that play? Do you think Greg Williams said, "Okay, enough, kid, get the hell off the field"? What do you think?
It's possible. Let me see if I could find some snaps from him.
I have his snap count. What percentage of plays do you think he's been on the field for?
I
didn't see him week 1. So this is week 1 and week 2.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say 30%.
9. He's played 13 plays.
Oh man, that is awful. That's got to be. Is that including special teams or is that like defense?
No. Special teams, he's at 64% of special teams.
But defense is really where we want to see him.
Yeah, defensive snaps, 9%.
God, that's ugly. Lloyd Long, thank you for the super chat. He says, I know Le'Veon Bell will probably be gone next year, but do you think any potential new coaches from next year would want to keep him? I don't think it's going to be so much on the head coach. I think it's going to be more so about Joe Douglas. I like Le'Veon Bell a lot. I would love to see him do something, but I guess it depends when his contract, when certain bonuses kick in as to when you can cut him, because I was projecting he would definitely be cut after this season, and it saves us. Yeah. Where is it? Oh, does he not pop up because he's on IR right now? I guess that's probably why. Let me pull up Bell's contract real quick.
I tried to talk myself into Le'Veon Bell being here next year with let's just use the example of Bieniemy or Roman coming in here and being like, hey, I think I could use this guy and do a bunch of different things. I just don't know with the cap number if Joe Douglas is going to think it's worth it or not. I'm not necessarily opposed to it. I would put the percentage of that happening really, really low.
So the nice thing about this whole situation is we can hold off on this cut for a little bit. So the Jets save $9.5 million if they cut Bell. Now maybe they want to do him a solid and let him, pick up with another team, or he's going to wind up being a potential trade option at some point. Because if we trade him, the team that gets him, they're basically getting him for, I think, $11 million a year because we pay the prorated bonus. I don't know if the roster bonus carries over, because if that doesn't carry over, then they're getting him for like $8 million and $9.5 million. But he doesn't have a bonus kick in until August 1st. So the Jets have a little bit of time, almost like with Brian Winters and Avery Williamson, where there was no deadline on when you needed to cut him to get cap space. If the Jets don't need the cap space and they want to surround Sam with weapons, maybe there's a situation where you hold on to him for another year. Because, look, I mean, he seems, for all intents and purposes, seems like he's a pretty good locker room guy. It seems like he worked really hard. I feel bad for the guy. We just can't. We can't get anything going with him. And I don't know if it's an Adam Gase thing or if it's like a good running back took a year off and he's lost a little bit. I don't know.
Nah.
I think it's mostly Gase. Go ahead.
I think so too. No, I agree. I think it's 89% Gase, and he probably isn't what he was 2 years ago. But dude, you don't go from being the best back in the league to a complete worthless piece of garbage like that. I mean, it just doesn't happen. You know what I mean? Like, and he's working so hard. And, you see him out there, man. He's able to make first guy, he usually makes a miss, the first guy. And he's, I don't know, it really sucks that he's injured, because it looked like we were finally going to start throwing to him a little bit more consistently. And I think, Le'Veon Bell knows he's playing so a team does want to sign him and give him something.
Sure.
So, I would love to see him come out, and like, this season's a wash and we're going to cut him anyway. I would love to see us get a second-round pick for him or something like that and let him save his friggin' career somewhere, because it's not happening here. I think it's all good.
I've loved Le'Veon Bell. I was totally on board with this signing, initially. If I knew this was how we were going to use him, I'd say no, but I think the thought process at least was sort of right. It was like, hey, let's get our young quarterback some weapons, and that's how I viewed it. It just, backfired immensely. Really friggin' frustrating. Let's see. We got 20 minutes left in the show. Let's get into some phone calls. Let's see what you guys have to say. I'm gonna throw the phone number up on the screen. Remember, keep your questions short, because Matt and Green Bean are not going to be able to hear you guys. So you're going to ask the question, and then we'll kind of talk about it here. Remember, if you want to follow these guys, links are in the description down below. Make sure you follow both of them. They put out some great content. And we got our first caller coming in, Chris from Florida.
Chris from Florida.
Chris, what's up, dude? How you doing tonight?
What's going on, Ryan? I'm doing good, man. Here's my question. What do you say that we get all you YouTubers, all the New York Jets fans, and all the celebrities, and we do our own Enough is Enough video? Why don't we go ahead and all gather together and put a montage of us really close up in the camera's face and say, enough is enough. Change must happen. Fire.
I love it. Love it, Chris. Okay, so Chris says, what if we all get together? We get all the Jet YouTubers, we get all the fans in the cockpit and the passengers hanging out with us, and we have a Enough is Enough video. Enough is enough. It's just the end of it's like, fire Gase. Like, just,
hey,
I would do it.
I don't think
we have to sing. We might have to hold hands or something, though. I'll internet hold hands with you. I'll go like this. And we'll just that'll be my all holding hands through the Zoom window.
Let me know. I'm in, Chris.
It's fantastic. All right, let's see. Remember, guys, keep your questions short, because they're not going to be able to hear you. And the phone lines are open again. Yeah, that's pretty bad. It's the I love you. Look at the chat. Enough is enough. I love it. Peace. I think that's something we might have to do. Might have to be a thing. I see a ton of phone calls popping up, and this is the issue with Google Voice is I guess when you get a lot of numbers calling in at the same time, it doesn't want to ring right away. So I see you guys. I see y'all calling. Just keep calling. I got nothing on the line right now. We'll get you on there. I should just call people back. That's what I should do. Just
Pick a number.
Oh, here we go. Here's a number.
Call from
Enrique.
Enrique, how you doing, brother?
Hey, how you doing, man?
Hanging in there. What's on your mind? What's your question?
Just wanted to real quick. I just tuned in. If we really have the first pick, would we really pass on Lawrence?
What would you do? I'll ask you first before Green Bean Matt and I talk about it.
Well, I would take him just in case his Sam don't work out. Because what if he doesn't have it? Yeah.
I think that's a valid question. Thank you so much for the call, Enrique. He says, if the Jets have the first overall pick, would we really pass on Trevor Lawrence? Look, if the Jets get the first pick, I think that means Sam played bad enough to get us the first pick. I mean, unless we see some like really great stuff out of Sam and we really believe it's Adam Gase and the lack of weapons and everything that's going on, I have a really hard time thinking the Jets would pass on Trevor Lawrence if we got the first pick. I would want us to trade out of one, but I just have a hard time seeing them do it. Green Bean, what do you think?
Yeah, I think we've already seen that Joe Douglas is into and quite adept at acquiring picks. If he has the opportunity to get like 2 firsts and a second, and some other stuff thrown in, I see him really being tempted. I think it really does depend on Sam. I could see it, man, depending on the offer to come up. I can.
Yeah, I'm with Green Bean here. It really depends. I don't think I could answer this question right now. It depends on what happens the rest of the year with Sam Darnold. If, like I said earlier, if he plays at least on par with what he did his first couple of years, then I think he deserves a real shot with a head coach, quarterback coach, offensive coordinator. If it's, 3,100 yards, 16 touchdowns, 16 interceptions, and a YPA in the low sixes, probably taking Trevor Lawrence then.
Yeah, I think the nice thing is we have another 14 games to grade Sam before we have to make this decision. And dude,
and he was already better this week, man.
And that's just the thing. We talked about it earlier. It was, hold on, let me see if I can pull up the numbers. It was like he went from a 30 something on Pro Football Focus up to, was it like a 70? Yeah, so he went from a 37 up to an 86 in 1 week. So I think he knows. I think he's good. I really do. I'm excited to see what happens with the Colts. I think that Colts defense is pretty good. I think the Colts team overall is pretty good. So it's going to be a little tough task, especially if we're not getting any of our weapons back. Is Crowder on IR, or is he was just out for last game?
Just out. They don't know his status yet. It looks like Perriman's definitely out, but I don't think they know on Crowder yet.
Man, this is rough because we're already without Bell and Mims, who are out for another 2 weeks on top of this. So we're not getting them back till after the Broncos game. If Crowder's missing more time, that's just more and more issues we're going to have to deal with. All right, phone lines are open, guys. Try to get your questions in. We'll go right up to the 10 o'clock mark. We got about 13 minutes left. Remember, keep your questions short because Green Bean and Matt are not going to be able to hear you, and I have to reiterate this to them, and I am not so good in the remembering things category when you guys rattle off a question too long. But, yeah, I don't know. I do not know. If we have the first pick, I would hope we would trade back. I really do hope that. I think that, I think there's you have a golden opportunity to add a ton of pieces around Sam. And even if it would suck. Look, we've already passed on Patrick Mahomes. If we pass on Trevor Lawrence, I can swallow that pill if I have to. At least you're telling me that the guy that I think is a good GM, I think he's a good talent scout based on what I've, just sort of watched with the players he picked and the moves he's made acquiring draft picks. It seems like this guy just gets it. So if the move for him is, hey, I believe in Sam, let's surround him with talent, then it's just an even better situation where I said, okay, I would build around Sam, build around Sam. If you trade down, you get even more assets to build around Sam. That's the beautiful thing about it. All right, we got a caller on the
Call
line.
from
Julius.
Hey, what's good, brother? How you doing tonight?
I'm doing good, man. How about you?
I cannot. I can complain. I can complain. This whole 2-hour stream has been me complaining.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's been a great show. It's been a great show, man.
Thank you. What's on your mind?
So, I'm in camp. Trade back. Trevor Lawrence. Yeah, it's cool to get him, but I kind of want to roll with Sam just because we've invested so much. I think with a real coach and a real supporting cast, it could be good. So I was talking with some guys. What do you think if we trade back, what do you think we can get? Because everyone's saying, oh, it's such a, there's a lot of quarterbacks. A lot of teams have their quarterback situation dealt with. You're not going to get much. But if he's this generation guy, I feel like there's a lot of teams going to try to move up and give a huge package. So what do you think that package could potentially look like? All right, thanks, man.
Ooh. All right, great question. So his question was about the potential of trading down if we had the number 1 overall pick, and what could the Jets get in theory for that pick. Obviously, a lot of it depends on where you fall in the trade chart. I mean, if you just look at the Jets moving up for Sam Darnold, going from 6 to 3, you're talking that team's first-round pick plus 3 second-round picks. Now coming all the way up to 1, having your choice of whoever you want, that's going to cost you a little bit more. I would hope we get, aside from this year's first, I would hope we'd get next year's first from someone else too, and then you'd wind up with 3 first-round picks next year. Maybe it's players that we want in conjunction with a draft pick. I don't know. It really depends on how far back you're going. I would like to stay in the top 5. I think you would not want to drop further than that unless it was something absurd that you got. I don't even know what that option would be. Matt, what would you kind of expect in terms of trade compensation for us to move out of 1?
Yeah, so it's going to have to be a first. And like you said, I'm not looking to go back further than 5. A second, and then maybe next year's first. Like, I'm trying to think about, because you always, yes, these charts are helpful. There's no doubt about it. But when teams trade up for quarterbacks, they overpay. Like, it happens all the time. Look at the RG3 trade. That was insane. So it could be a lot. It could be a lot more than we're expecting. It very well could be a first this year, a second this year, a first next year, and then, I don't know, throw in another mid-round pick or something like that. And that might be enough to get it done, depending on it. It all depends on where, how far you're falling back to as well. It's really tough to say.
Greenbean, what do you think? What sort of compensation do you think the Jets could get?
Well, look, so when in 2017, when the Bears traded up with the Niners to get Trubisky, they gave up, they just swapped places. So they moved up 1 spot. They got a 3rd and a 4th that year and a 3rd the following year. And that was 1 spot. Okay. I think that if you move down anything past 2 places, you're getting a first-round pick. I think, like Matt just said too, when it's for a quarterback, especially someone as touted as Trevor Lawrence, there's going to be competition as well. So there's going to be somewhat of a bidding war. I think you're at least getting an additional first, like next year's first, and probably at least a second in addition to that, depending on how far you move back. If you're moving back to like the 10s or something like that, you're talking about first, second, third, first, second next year, that kind of stuff. So I think it would be a haul, man. And then, so if we got, like, let's look at this for just a split second. If we move down to 5, you're getting a first, a second, and next year's first, and probably a 5th, like one of those kinds of things thrown in. So you would then have for that year, 3 first, the next year, 2022, 3 first-round picks, or this year, 2021, 2 firsts, 2 seconds, 2 thirds, and then on and on. The next year, 2 firsts or 3 firsts, 2 seconds. That's how you build a true contender with blue chip guys. 5 firsts in 2 years, 3 seconds in 2 years, 3 thirds in 2 years. That's the way you do it. So I think that's the type of compensation. If there's a bidding war, you might even get someone first, second, third, 5th this year in addition to the first and second next year. That kind of crazy shit. So I think if that's what's going on, man, I'm hanging out in that room for a little while and seeing what I can get.
Now, I like that. I think it makes sense. Both the packages you guys have talked about. Now, there was a second part of this question that I didn't say before, and it was about the potential of there not being a bidding war and the possibility of all these teams having quarterbacks right now. What teams are coming up to bid for that first pick? Is it? I mean, if you're staying in the top 5, you're talking maybe the Bears, maybe you'd probably want it to be someone in the NFC, but whoever sends you the biggest package is probably what you're going to take. The Steelers, if Ben retires, they could even cut Ben. So, like, Ben doesn't necessarily have to retire. If Ben retires, they might accelerate all that cap hit to 1 year. If they cut him, they save $19 million. So that you may see that happen. They could be looking for a quarterback. The Saints, but they're going to be at the back end of the first round. Like, what do you do? And, man, I don't know. I don't know what teams could create a bidding war that is attractive enough for the Jets. Are there teams out there, you think, Matt?
Yeah, Carolina's a name that you didn't mention that I would consider. I think before the season started, if you asked me 2 weeks ago, I would have said Jacksonville, but I really like Gardner Minshew. He's playing out of his mind. Maybe you might have to trade back too far for this, but depending on how this year goes, Minnesota might be looking for a quarterback. Kirk Cousins, man, he really struggled again, and I don't know how much longer they can go on with Kirk Cousins, man. Their fans are going to riot if they run this thing back again. So they could be a team again if they finish 14th. You're probably not trading back with them, but there's a few teams, especially in the NFC. You mentioned the Bears earlier. The Lions, maybe if they go really bad. Vegas, we know that Carr and Gruden don't seem to be on the same page. So I think there's a few teams who could potentially be looking at it.
Creepy, what do you think?
Yeah, I think the Detroit Lions, the Chicago Bears, all you need is 2 to tango. And then I think the Jags, let's see how Minshew holds up the whole season. I think the Jags are taking people by surprise right now. I think they weren't even expecting this much. I think that there's very realistic potential for that to settle down a bit. And let's see how Minshew looks. I agree. Teddy Bridgewater, you don't know how that season will go for him. I like Teddy Bridgewater a lot in Carolina, but that's another one. And I think the Steelers, the Patriots, when Cam gets hurt mid-season, which is also very real. I'm not rooting for it, but it's very realistic possibility. He's running a lot more than I thought he should this early, in my opinion. So I think there's quite a few. Let's see how the Raiders do. I mean, I happen to like Carr a lot more than a lot of other people, but let's see how their season holds up. I think there's definitely going to be some people, and don't forget injuries. The Steelers with Big Ben, even if they want to have 1 year with Ben, and Trevor Lawrence grooming there for a minute. That's another one. Teams are willing to do that, man. I think there'll be more than enough suitors, and all you need is Detroit Lions. Stafford can't last forever, man. He's on his 13th season or his 12th season, I think. One or the other. Yeah. Detroit.
So I pulled up Cousins' contract just because I was curious what it was. So he's going to have a really tough time. They're basically locked into him for the next 2 years. He has... So if they cut him after the season, they lose $10 million. They don't save money by cutting him. But in a weird roundabout way, they kind of do. They save money in 2022. They save $35 million because March 20th, his base salary, which is $35 million, becomes fully guaranteed. So if he's on the roster March 20th, he's getting the 2022 season fully guaranteed. So that's a little concerning there. I want to get to some of the super chats. Elijah Pemberton, thank you so much for the super chat. He says, draft Trevor. I wouldn't pay Sam $25 to $40 million a year. At this point, no. I get that. I think the plan, if you don't draft Trevor Lawrence, I think it would have to be let Sam play out his 4th year. You lock him into the 5th year option. Hopefully he proves enough to you in year 4 that you sign him long term. If he doesn't, then you let him play out his 5th year option. And then you work with the franchise tag. You say, hey, look, we really want to sign you long term. This is what we're kind of doing. The issue is, does that put a bad taste in Sam's mouth? Does he want to get out of New York after 5 years? Or is he just not a good quarterback and then everyone wants to get rid of him anyway? So I don't know. Matt, what do you think about paying Sam $25 to $40 million?
You probably want to pay him 25 after a year with Eric Bieniemy.
Sure.
Like I'm not paying him now, but like this could be a completely different conversation if he throws for 4,300 yards, 30 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 95 quarterback rating next year.
Sure. Green Bean, what do you think?
I like how Matt did that. See, timing is everything, and that was what we call good timing. You know, that was a switcheroo. That's we came around the back and hit us with, I'll pay him after he's with Eric Bieniemy for a year. And I think that it really does, as we end this, come to the close here, I think that's a really good way to look at this. It boils back down to Adam Gase sucking monkey genitals. I caught myself there. I was going to go really gross. But so I think I'm not ready to give up on Sam. I think Sam is a good quarterback. His footwork and sloppy. I was only saying that stuff when we're talking about what his trade value is. That's the stuff people are going to be looking at. And is he worth giving up a first-round pick for when you have all this work to do? I think a really talented offensive coach. Adam Gase is not that. He's never been that. And I think that if we were able to do that and get an Eric Bieniemy, let's say, for the sake of argument, I think he would be able to do things with Sam. And I don't want to see that friggin' draft capital and that opportunity wasted when we already have a franchise quarterback in the house.
Yeah, I think that burns me up inside. 2613 Mike, thank you for the super chat. He says, Tampa Bay, Indianapolis, Detroit, New Orleans, any team with an old quarterback would be a potential landing spot for Trevor Lawrence. Now, of those, I think Detroit probably has the best chance of having a high pick. And then that's a possibility because then if he's getting canned, maybe Greg Roman goes over there, or maybe, they could be getting Patricia could be, on the way out, high pick. I could see that happening. That seems like the most realistic, I think, to me, if I had to guess. But guys, that's it for us tonight. This is our Talkin' Jets panel. We're here every Tuesday, although I have to talk to these guys because next week I'm actually not available on Tuesday night. So I don't know what you guys are doing. We'll talk about it after the show, but we might do it a different day possibly if it works out. But guys, that's it for us tonight. Let's go around the panel. Any last words? Matt, how you doing?
Please just give me a watchable product on Sunday. I'm not asking for a win. Just give me something watchable, please. That's it.
Green Bean, any last words for the panel tonight?
I'm going to do something that I don't usually do here. I'm going to say, hey, guys, there's 407 of you in here. If you're looking for somebody to hang out with during the game, I'm doing a live stream on Jet Nation YouTube where we did it for the past 2 weeks. It's a really good time, and commiserating alone, it's worth it to have some people around you. We had a really good time. I have guests come on. Ryan and Matt have been coming on each halftime, and we spend some time. Jet Nation YouTube, come hang out during the game next week.
I love it. Guys, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Misery loves company. We'll see you guys next week. I love you. Jets.